So we're picking up from last time. As you remember, we lost some of the video where we saw the evolution, that transformation from the final draft to now. And now we're just starting off from like some of the other features we changed, like the nose. We're also going to look at some details later on, like the hand and how we transformed that. And that's what these next concluding videos will be about. So I am just tweaking the nose. Why is this? So as I said, some of these visuals are directly linked to the lyrics. In the lyrics here, we're talking about a black person who has, we're shown that through the hair, what's the afro hair, and I want to add that detail in the nose. Of course, like in the first version that we saw, it looked like a nose, but I really wanted to just elevate the attention to detail in this one. And that's why, you know, the teeth are clearer, the socket is deeper, and we have some of these little details which you can probably see better now that it's zoomed in. This is one of those. I'm making it a little rounder. I'm drawing a profile sort of side view of this nose, and I just want it to fit the whole person's face better. And this is subtle, and guys, it's again like, what are you aiming to do? This is an elevation from the final draft. Okay, so you have definitely seen me do this before, and that is searching for a visual reference. I was working on the nose for a while, and it wasn't coming out how I wanted it to. So I decided, okay, here's the time to like look at an actual image, a real photograph of, or like a model of what I'm similarly trying to aim for. So that's what I'm doing, and I'm just looking to compare. I want this sort of side profile to mimic something like this real photo. And yeah, that's really all what we're doing now. It's just brushing up, going that extra mile. And I decided that this nose from this unedited, or like I guess untweaked version, was actually closer to the shape of this visual one I got. So I just kind of based it around there, because we still need the angle to line up with the bridge of the nose, right around the eye socket. And I'm gonna replace it. So as you saw, I just used that as a reference, and the photo, I'm tweaking it a little bit more. I just want this kind of slight roundness. Instead of like, I got like a little too protrude. I think I just made it stick out too much before compared to the image reference I was looking at. So this is a little tricky because I had, well, it's not tricky, but I had already merged them together. So because I already merged them together, I couldn't just move the nose end around like you saw me do. I have to now remove some of the points. I usually try and keep them separated for a while in case I have a change like this. There we go. I mean, the roundness is cool. I just feel like it needs to come in a little bit. And I remember specifically thinking at this point, this is not coming out. This is not looking how I want it to. So I'm trying to fix it with the nose. I want like the hair there, but I remember looking at this and being like, I'm like making like a skeleton of a clown, because the nose is bulging out just a bit too much, like one of those fake noses you might put on Red Nose Day or something you'd see a clown wearing. And it just wasn't mixing in as well. And that's the risk you gotta take with any changes you wanna make like this. So now I'm looking at it. The nose actually does kind of fit better, but it all as a composition is not working how I want. So I'm kind of like, okay, what is it I need to do with it? I've kind of changed the slope, I've brought it in, I've changed the size, I've changed the positioning. And after looking at the picture again, I thought maybe I just need the bridge to be a little more connected. Maybe it dipped too much, and that's like basically making the bulge seem more exaggerated. So I thought, why don't I just level out that bridge? I do think it's working a little better. It might just need a few point changes. And that's what I love about using the pencil tool and being able to use the white selection tool. It's just easier to just have a filled shape and manipulate it. It's like really, it's been very good for this design in particular, because it's just a lot of shapes merged and moved and twisted and turned. And I was so pleased when I was just doing the draft to see that this concept I had in my sketchbook could actually work. I wasn't even sure. I already knew, okay, I'm gonna lower the opacity, etc., try shapes on top of shapes, but I really didn't know if it would be able to capture my vision for this. And it really does, like, especially when it's on this black background, it has achieved what I wanted to, the effect I wanted to, this X-ray like effect. So the nose is getting better at this point. And at this point in the game, we're on the finishing touches. As you can see, like to the left with the neck, I've already done the neck bone shapes, and I've put the darker kind of space in between the bone as well, which is like one of the new additions we had on this updated version. And now I'm just trying to keep the nose perfect. At this point, the nose is looking better to me. It's like not sticking out. It's not as like it felt like it was just disjointed. Okay guys, I just done a good habit. I've saved my work, and now I want to make some different changes. So I'm selecting the hair, and the thing is, I don't want all of it per se. I just want this outer side. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm copying all of those little flicks and coils that we did earlier, and I want those to all be grouped together. Now, I intentionally kept them separate from the big part of the hair in case I ever wanted to have a smaller version, which is a good reason not to necessarily merge everything all at once. And now I'm trying to see what they would look like together with like a lot less hair. I wasn't ever sure how big I wanted it to be. And of course, there's other things you need to consider. One of those things could be, how does this fit on my page? I was like trying to put these all to this now grouped hair, the lighter hair on the outer rim. And I was thinking, okay, how do I get this midpoint? And this is basically what I'm doing there. Because the darker hair, like with the that has a brighter color, which I've just removed for the moment. We know it fits around the head. I actually quite liked the length of the hair, and I just want to make them work together. So I've now realized the most effective way to do this is just to take bits of the updated hair, flicks and flares and whatever, and just put it onto the original length. I want to see how it goes. I was torn between making it a little bigger, like a medium-sized afro, or just sticking to a pretty trimmed one. And right now we're just exploring the angle of this trimmed one. So literally we're just keeping the exact same size and length that we actually had on that original final draft in previous videos. And I'm just taking bits of this because, as you can imagine, the circumference of the new hair was a lot bigger because the hair was bigger. So we're actually not going to need every single bit of this. And so for now, I'm just going to keep moving bits around. It probably feels pretty reminiscent to when we were drawing the hair, because now I've got to make this hair work for this different shape. And I'm gonna save you guys from seeing all those little bits, and we're just gonna go forward and look at what it looks like when we actually try merging them together. Here we are, and we have them, and I'm just gonna go to my Pathfinder and I'm gonna merge them. So here we have the much shorter afro, and as you can see, very different from the bigger one we started with. Again, I'd love to hear you guys in the comments. Just say what you think. There's the final draft version, there's the shorter haired version, and there's a bigger haired version. And it's good to keep your little different parts. I like to make a extra layer on the likes of Adobe and just save different versions of things in case I change my mind or the client does, and we could go back to it. So we're now gonna just see how it looks on this setting and see if it fits. For one, the shorter hair definitely fits better on the cover itself. And we're gonna just see if we can make it a little clearer by changing the opacity. I think it definitely fits better with the style of this one, adding these new hair flicks. And it's not that I can't have the big hair on this, but I would just need to change the proportions of everything else. So you could imagine the skull might have to be brought to the right a bit more. The hair would either have to partially be off screen, or the whole thing would have to be shrunk. And not a problem again. It just, you need to consider your entire composition when you're doing this sort of thing. So I like it for now. We've come to a good place with the hair. We've come to a good place with the nose. And that is fine for now. This is, of course, not the most updated skull. We have the nose to the left of us. But really, I'm just trying to see what it looks like. That's why you keep seeing me zoom in and out. So guys, I've actually created a new page. I'm just literally created the same square shape. And I am just trying to clear my canvas and now have my final version. So we have here, I've already put like the black background. We're not changing any of the concept, but I just want this new thing where I could have my latest layers. This one, I have the skull with the nose that we had changed before. And I am just saving that and just starting from a clean page. This could be good if you have a lot of stuff floating around, like my last one. That was more like my workstation. And this is my polished place now. So I'm going to shrink this to fit in how it needs to. And we're just going to explore making these versions. As you see, I'm making like different layers for all of these. And that's just to keep my workspace tidy and keep it clean. Part of the reason I have moved to this new space is because now I want this tidier workspace. So we're going to bring in the text, and we're going to bring in every element we had before. And this doesn't mean I don't intend to make any more changes. I do. And I still intend to explore and see what works, what doesn't. Even this, as you see, we've stuck to this multicolored, like every letter being different for a while with text. But I want to explore with that as well. So what I just did there, guys, is a kind of manual way of making sure there was the same amount of space, and basically to make sure that the text was centered. Now, there is like a centered guideline that will come up, as you saw that purple line right there, in this application. That will happen. But the problem is, if you have a bit of space on either side of your words, of your letters rather, your text box may be bigger than your actual word. And even if it's centered the text box, it may not appear like your actual word is centered. And that's why I do that. And this is just literally me now really trying to put together these finishing final pieces. By the end of this process, we want a final product that we would be giving to the client and they would be using. And just like you've seen me do in previous videos, we're going to have a couple different versions of stuff. And that's partially what we're doing right now. We have the very big afro. Now we're going to have a different sized one. And we're just going to have these different versions so we can compare them. And so we can show the client these options. All right, so we're trying a different sized afro, and yeah, just shrinking it a little bit. It has all the updated flicks and curls that we wanted, and we're just gonna see what it looks like on this kind of size. And as you see, guys, I've not like messed around with the text, like the font, too much, and I haven't really even messed around with like opacity too much of the hair or anything. I'm really just trying to gauge what the dimensions will look like, how it will fit into this shape. So guys, you can see this version with the shortest hair, but I want to zoom out to show you all the different ones we have. You've like 6, although 2 of them are pretty the same. Maybe like 4 different versions of basically different lengths of this hair. We have got into a pretty tedious part, which is the font part. It might not be tedious for you guys, but it is for me because I am a little obsessive over getting like the exact font. I can spend ages just going font after font, trying all these different ones. You might have just saw the website I had up, thefont.com. That's a really great website for finding different fonts outside of the generic ones. Adobe has a really great collection though, so if you're subscribed in that way, then you probably don't have to worry. The font, I would just be careful to read their terms. Some are like entirely free for any use. Some are free for personal use. Some want donations. Some are paid for. So just make sure, especially if you're going to be using it for clients' work, something that they would release, like an album or a song, I'd be careful about that. So this is the first change in a while, and we're just doing this different kind of bubbly version. I'm looking specifically for a bubble font because the client has specifically asked me for a bubble font. Before we even discuss more, or this concept of the skeleton was thought of, they were like thinking some bubble font. They kind of told me some of their ideas, and I had to look for this bubble font because I didn't really have actually a decent bubble font just at hand. And now this is a search. I'm pretty much just searching for bubble fonts, and I want to find the best version of it. I'm sticking with this kind of multicolored at the moment. I just like the splash of color right now because it's like two-toned. It's like black and grays we're dealing with at the moment. So like an accent, a touch of color can work. And guys, I'd just like to thank you for joining me. And this is where we're gonna leave it for now. We're gonna look more at the fonts and those finalizations, these other finishing touches in the next video. If you liked what you saw, please subscribe, share, like, and comment. Let's just keep exploring and creating. Till next time.